The massive space station called Nexus Prime hung in the void like a metal mountain floating among the stars. Lee Daeho pressed his face against the small window of the transport ship and stared at the incredible sight before him. The station was bigger than any city on Earth, and it sparkled with thousands of lights from different alien races who lived and worked inside its metal walls. After 30 years of waiting and planning, this moment had finally come. Humanity was about to meet the Galactic Council for the first time. Daeho turned away from the window and looked at his 3 companions who would help him in this historic mission. Park So-min sat quietly reading alien language files on her datapad. She was the best language expert on Earth and could speak 15 different human languages perfectly. Now she was trying to learn the strange sounds and symbols that aliens used to talk to each other. Her black hair was tied back in a simple style, and her dark eyes moved quickly across the glowing screen as she memorized each new word and phrase. Kim. Tae-woo checked his military uniform one more time and made sure every button was straight and every badge was in the right place. He was a career soldier who had served in 3 different conflicts on Earth before being chosen for this peaceful mission. His job was to show the aliens that humans could be strong, but also disciplined and honorable. The gray streaks in his hair showed his experience, and his calm manner made everyone feel safer when dangerous situations arose. Choi Yoo-jin was the youngest member of their team, but also the smartest when it came to understanding how different life forms worked. She had spent years studying every piece of alien technology and biological samples that Earth had managed to collect over the decades. Her notebook was filled with drawings and theories about how alien bodies might function and what their various organs and systems might do. She hoped to learn amazing new things about life in the universe during their visit to the Council. The transport ship slowly moved closer to the docking bay of Nexus Prime, and Daeho felt his heart beating faster with each passing minute. 47 years had passed since humans first detected alien radio signals from space. 23 years had gone by since the first alien ship had visited Earth and made contact with human governments. All of that time had been spent preparing for this single moment when Earth would ask to join the community of intelligent races that ruled the galaxy. Daeho remembered the long meetings in Geneva where world leaders had argued about who should represent humanity and what they should say to the aliens. Some countries wanted to send their military leaders to show strength. Others wanted to send their greatest scientists to prove human intelligence. In the end, they had chosen Daeho because he was a diplomat who had successfully ended 3 wars on Earth through careful negotiation and patient talking instead of fighting. The docking bay doors opened with a loud mechanical sound, and their ship settled onto the metal platform with a soft bump. Through the windows, they could see alien beings moving around in environmental suits that allowed them to breathe and work in the artificial atmosphere of the station. Some aliens were tall and thin like walking trees. Others were short and thick like living rocks. A few seemed to float in the air without any visible legs or feet to hold them up. An alien voice spoke through the communication system in perfectly clear English, with only a slight accent that sounded almost musical. The voice belonged to someone called Veltar, who was apparently the current leader of the Galactic Council. He welcomed the human delegation to Nexus Prime and said that many different races were curious to meet the newest species that wanted to join their ancient organization. The 4 humans gathered their belongings and walked toward the exit door of their ship. Each of them carried a small case containing gifts from Earth that represented the best of human culture and achievement. Daeho had a collection of classical music recordings and famous paintings reproduced on crystal displays. So-min brought books of poetry and literature translated into mathematical symbols that any intelligent race should be able to understand. Tae-woo carried examples of human military honors and medals that showed how humans rewarded courage and sacrifice. Yoo-jin had biological samples and genetic maps that demonstrated the incredible diversity of life that had evolved on their home planet. The airlock opened and they stepped into the alien environment for the first time. The gravity felt slightly lighter than Earth normal, and the air had a strange sweet smell that reminded Daeho of flowers he had never encountered before. The temperature was comfortable, and the lighting came from panels in the ceiling that gave off a warm white glow very similar to sunlight. Veltar was waiting for them in the receiving area, along with several other alien representatives. He was Taller than any human, and his skin had a blue-green color like deep ocean water. His face was long and narrow with large eyes that seemed to see everything at once. When he spoke, his mouth barely moved, but his voice was clear and strong. He explained that the Galactic Council contained 47 different intelligent species, from hundreds of worlds scattered across their region of the galaxy. The aliens led the human delegation through long corridors filled with amazing sights and sounds. They passed viewing areas where they could see other parts of the station, and the incredible technology that kept millions of beings alive in the vacuum of space. Transport tubes carried alien passengers from one section to another at incredible speeds. Artificial gravity generators created different environments for species that had evolved on worlds with various conditions. So-Min was fascinated by the alien writing systems that covered the walls, and she quickly started taking notes about the different symbols and patterns she observed. Some aliens seemed to write in straight lines like humans, while others used circular patterns or three-dimensional shapes that hung in the air like floating sculptures. She realized that learning to communicate with so many different species would be the greatest challenge of her entire career. Taewoo noticed the security systems and the way alien guards moved through the corridors in organized patterns. Some carried weapons that looked like small metal rods, while others seemed to rely on natural abilities like claws or armored skin for protection. The military organization was impressive, but he could see that it had become routine and predictable. Over many years of peace and stability, Yujin stared in wonder at the incredible variety of alien life forms they encountered. Some breathed the same air as humans, while others wore breathing apparatus or lived in special environmental chambers. She saw beings that looked like they had evolved from plants instead of animals, and others that seemed to be made of living metal or crystal. Each new species raised dozens of questions about how life could develop in so many different ways. Their quarters were located in a section of the station designed for oxygen-breathing species, with requirements similar to humans. The rooms were comfortable and well-equipped with everything they might need during their stay. Large windows provided amazing views of space and the various ships that came and went from the station on a constant basis. Communication equipment allowed them to stay in contact with Earth and report on their progress. Daeho unpacked his belongings and reviewed the presentation he would give to the full council in 3 days. Earth had so much to offer the galactic community. Human art and music showed creativity and emotion that might be unique in the universe. Human science and technology had advanced incredibly fast compared to what most species achieved in similar time periods. Human exploration and curiosity had driven them to reach for the stars even when their planet faced serious problems that could have kept them focused only on survival. The next morning, they attended their first formal meeting with representatives from 12 different species. The aliens asked many questions about human history and culture and society. Some questions were easy to answer, while others required careful thought to avoid giving the wrong impression about humanity. They wanted to know about human conflicts and wars, but also about human cooperation and peaceful achievements. They were curious about human government and economics and religion and family structures. So-Min served as translator. When the universal communication system had difficulty with certain concepts that did not exist in alien languages, she discovered that many species had never experienced anything like human emotions or human creativity. Some aliens lived for thousands of years and made decisions very slowly based on long-term planning that covered centuries. Others reproduced by dividing themselves and had no concept of individual identity or personal relationships. The meetings continued for several days, and the humans began to feel optimistic about their chances of being accepted into the Galactic Council. The aliens seemed genuinely interested in learning about humanity, and several species expressed enthusiasm for establishing trade relationships and cultural exchanges with Earth. Yujin was invited to visit alien research facilities, where she could study life forms that had no equivalent anywhere on her homeworld. However, Daeho began to notice subtle signs that not all of the aliens were completely comfortable with humanity joining their organization. Some species asked pointed questions about human population growth and territorial expansion. The secret meeting began at midnight station time when most of the regular diplomatic activities had ended for the day. Veltar entered the hidden chamber deep inside Nexus Prime, where the true decisions of the Galactic Council were made away from public attention. The room contained no windows and no recording devices and no communication systems that might allow outsiders to learn what was discussed within its metal walls. 47 alien representatives sat in a circle around a holographic display that showed detailed information about Earth and its human population. The data had been collected over 23 years of careful observation and analysis by the most advanced intelligence-gathering systems in the galaxy. Every aspect of human civilization had been studied and measured and evaluated according to standards that the Council had developed over thousands of years of managing galactic affairs. Elder Morthak, of the ancient Voidborn race, spoke first in a voice that sounded like wind blowing through empty caves. His species was among the oldest in the galaxy, and they had seen the rise and fall of dozens of civilizations over millions of years of existence. According to Voidborn records, there were certain patterns that always appeared when a young race became too successful too quickly and began to threaten the established order that kept peace among the stars. The holographic display showed graphs and charts that tracked human population growth over the past century. The numbers were alarming to species that typically required thousands of years to double their population. Humans had gone from less than 2 billion individuals to more than 8 billion in just 100 years. Their industrial capacity had increased even faster, and their technology was advancing at a rate that seemed impossible according to normal evolutionary patterns. Morthak explained that ancient Voidborn prophecies contained warnings about a young race that would burn bright and consume everything around them, unless they were stopped before reaching full maturity. The descriptions matched humanity in disturbing ways that could not be ignored by responsible leaders who cared about the future of galactic civilization. Sometimes the kindest action was to prevent a tragedy before it could occur. The ethereal representative named Silandra shared the results of her species' attempts to study human minds during the diplomatic meetings. Ethereals had natural telepathic abilities that allowed them to read the thoughts and emotions of most intelligent species without difficulty. They used this gift to maintain harmony and understanding among the different races that made up the Galactic Council by detecting deception and resolving conflicts before they became serious problems. However, human minds had proven to be completely resistant to ethereal telepathy in ways that no other species had ever demonstrated. When Silandra tried to read human thoughts, she encountered mental barriers that felt like solid walls made of pure determination and stubborn independence. Humans seemed to possess some kind of natural defense against psychic intrusion that made them impossible to understand or predict, using the methods that worked with every other known intelligent race. This resistance to mental scanning meant that the Council could never be certain about human intentions or human plans for the future. Every other species in the galaxy could be monitored and guided and controlled when necessary through subtle ethereal influence. Humans would remain a completely unknown factor that could act in any way at any time without warning or explanation. General Krex of the militaristic Chronari presented intelligence reports about human military capabilities and strategic thinking. His people had been the primary military force for the Galactic Council for over 3,000 years, and they understood warfare better than any other species in their region of space. What they had learned about human combat effectiveness was deeply disturbing to anyone who valued stability and peace. Human military history showed a pattern of constant innovation and adaptation that made them incredibly dangerous opponents in any conflict. While most species developed fighting methods over thousands of years and then continued using the same tactics forever, humans seemed to invent new ways of fighting during every single war they fought. They learned from their enemies and copied successful techniques and then improved upon them in ways that often surprised everyone, including themselves. Even more worrying was the human tendency to treat warfare as a problem that could be solved through creativity and determination, rather than simply overpowering opponents with superior numbers or technology. Human generals studied their enemies and found weaknesses and exploited those weaknesses with surgical precision. Human soldiers showed remarkable ability to function under extreme stress and to continue fighting even when facing impossible odds. The holographic display showed examples of human conflicts where smaller forces had defeated larger ones through superior tactics and better adaptation to changing conditions. Time after time, humans had found ways to win battles that should have been impossible according to standard military theory. Any species that could achieve such results with primitive technology would become unstoppable once they gained access to advanced galactic weapons and starships. Dr. Thane of the analytical Cerebros species presented mathematical models that predicted human expansion patterns if they were allowed to join the Galactic Council. His calculations showed that human population growth, combined with their natural curiosity and desire to explore, would lead them to claim territory throughout the galaxy within just a few centuries. Their industrial capacity would allow them to build fleets and colonies faster than any existing species could respond to contain them. The models also predicted that humans would not be satisfied with simply occupying new worlds, but would constantly modify and improve them according to their own preferences. Human terraforming technology was already advanced enough to change planetary atmospheres and surface conditions. Given access to alien knowledge and resources, they could reshape entire solar systems to support human life and human civilization. Within 1,000 years, the mathematical projections showed humans becoming the dominant species in the galaxy, with all other races reduced to minor populations living in whatever territories the humans decided to allow them to keep. This outcome was not based on any evidence of human aggression or evil intentions, but simply on the natural consequences of their reproductive and technological advantages over species that had evolved under different conditions. Veltar listened to all of the reports and analysis before speaking to the assembled representatives about the decision that faced them. The Galactic Council had maintained peace and stability for over 10,000 years by carefully managing the introduction of new species and preventing any single race from becoming powerful enough to threaten the others. They had learned through bitter experience that allowing unlimited growth and expansion always led to conflicts that could destroy entire civilizations. The human delegation had impressed everyone with their intelligence and creativity and good intentions. They seemed to be genuinely peaceful people who wanted to contribute to galactic civilization and learn from the wisdom of older races. However, their personal character was not the issue that needed to be considered when making decisions that would affect billions of lives across hundreds of worlds. The evidence was clear that humanity possessed advantages that would inevitably make them a threat to the existing order, regardless of their current intentions or their promises of peaceful cooperation. Young species always believed they could control their own growth and development, but history showed that biological and technological pressures eventually overwhelmed the best intentions of even the most ethical civilizations. The vote was taken in complete silence, with each representative indicating their decision through a private communication device that recorded their choice without revealing it to the others. When all 47 votes had been collected, the results appeared on the holographic display in simple mathematical terms that required no interpretation or discussion. The decision was unanimous. Humanity would be eliminated before they could become a threat to galactic stability. The elimination would be carried out in a way that appeared to be an accident or natural disaster, so that no other young species would learn that the Council was willing to destroy entire civilizations when necessary. The human delegation would die first to prevent them from returning to Earth, with warnings about the Council's true nature. Veltar assigned the task to a special operations team that had handled similar situations in the past, when young species had proven to be incompatible with galactic civilization. The team consisted of agents from multiple species who specialized in making eliminations look like accidents or equipment failures. They had access to advanced weapons and poisons and sabotage devices that would leave no evidence of deliberate action. The human delegation was scheduled to give their final presentation to the full council in 2 days. That presentation would be their last act as living beings. Afterwards, the elimination team would move against Earth itself, using weapons that would make the destruction of human civilization appear to be caused by natural cosmic events like asteroid impacts or solar flares. Kim Tae-woo had been trained to notice when security situations were changing in dangerous ways. General Han Jae-sung was reviewing routine intelligence reports in his office at the Unified Defense Command when the priority alert signal interrupted his morning briefing. The signal indicated that classified information of the highest importance was being received from deep space monitoring stations. As head of Earth's Military Intelligence Division, Han had been expecting regular diplomatic updates from the delegation at Nexus Prime, but the timing and classification level of this transmission suggested something had gone seriously wrong. The encrypted data package took several minutes to decrypt using quantum security protocols that only a handful of people on Earth were authorized to access. When the contents finally appeared on his secure display screen, Han felt his blood turn cold as he read the fragmentary recordings that Kim Tae-woo had managed to transmit during the final moments of his life. The voice recordings were broken and filled with static, but the message was clear enough to understand. The human delegation had discovered that the Galactic Council was planning to eliminate them, and they had been murdered to prevent them from warning Earth about the threat. The recordings contained alien voices discussing the systematic extermination of humanity as a necessary action to preserve galactic stability. Every worst-case scenario that military planners had considered was coming true, and Earth had perhaps only days or weeks before the alien attack would begin. Han immediately activated emergency protocols that would summon the highest levels of government and military leadership for a crisis meeting within 2 hours. He also sent coded messages to deep space monitoring stations ordering them to watch for any signs of alien ships moving toward Earth. If the recordings were accurate, then humanity was about to face an extinction-level threat from species with technology far beyond anything humans had yet developed. Dr. Yoon, Minna received her summons to the emergency meeting while she was working in the Xenological Research Facility, studying alien artifacts that had been collected over the past 20 years. As head of Earth's Alien Research Division, she had spent most of her career preparing for the day when humanity would need to understand and interact with galactic civilization. Now it appeared that her work would be focused on finding ways to fight and defeat alien technology, instead of learning to cooperate with it. The emergency meeting took place in the deepest levels of the global security complex, where the most sensitive decisions about human survival were made by people who had devoted their lives to protecting Earth from external threats. President Seo Ji-hoon arrived by secure transport from the capital, along with the heads of every major government and military organization on the planet. The room had been constructed to prevent any form of electronic surveillance, and its walls were lined with materials that would block alien scanning technology. Han presented the evidence from the failed diplomatic mission, including audio recordings and data transmissions that proved the Galactic Council had decided to eliminate humanity. The alien voices could be heard discussing human population growth and technological development as threats that needed to be removed before they could destabilize the existing galactic order. The elimination would be disguised as natural disasters to prevent other young species from learning about the Council's true nature. The recordings also contained intelligence about alien military capabilities and strategic planning that revealed important weaknesses in their approach to warfare. The Galactic Council had maintained peace for thousands of years by preventing conflicts rather than fighting them, and their military forces had become comfortable and predictable. They expected to eliminate humanity through overwhelming technological superiority without facing serious resistance from primitive human defenses. President Seo listened to the evidence in grim silence before asking the question that everyone in the room was thinking, but afraid to voice. How could humanity possibly defend itself against alien species with thousands of years of technological advancement and military resources that spanned hundreds of worlds across the galaxy? The answer came from Admiral Shin Bo-ra, who had been quietly preparing for this exact scenario for the past 15 years. Admiral Shin explained that Earth's public space program and diplomatic initiatives had been designed to create a peaceful appearance while hiding the true extent of human military preparation. Secret research facilities had been developing advanced weapon systems based on alien technology recovered from crashed ships and abandoned equipment. Deep space construction yards had been building a fleet of warships using revolutionary propulsion systems that could match or exceed alien performance capabilities. The destruction protocol had been created as humanity's ultimate response to an alien invasion that threatened the complete elimination of human civilization. Rather than attempting to defend Earth directly, the protocol called for immediate offensive operations against alien infrastructure and military targets throughout the galaxy. If humanity was going to die, then they would take as many alien enemies with them as possible, and make the cost of eliminating humans so high that other species would think carefully before threatening Earth. Dr. Yoon Min-ah presented the scientific analysis that had made the destruction protocol possible. Her research teams had reverse-engineered alien technology and discovered that most galactic species had become dependent on centralized systems that could be disrupted or destroyed by targeted attacks. Their communication networks relied on quantum entanglement systems that could be jammed by properly tuned interference devices. Their power generation systems used exotic matter that became unstable when exposed to specific electromagnetic frequencies. Most importantly, the aliens had become overconfident in their technological superiority and had not developed adequate defensive measures against attack methods that they considered too primitive to be dangerous. Human weapons that use kinetic energy or chemical explosives or nuclear fission could penetrate alien defenses that were designed to stop energy beams and particle weapons. Sometimes the oldest solutions were the most effective against enemies who had forgotten how to fight against simple but reliable technology. The quantum communication system that allowed faster-than-light coordination between alien worlds was particularly vulnerable to disruption because it required precise calibration to function correctly. Human scientists had developed viral programs that could infiltrate alien computer networks and gradually corrupt the calibration settings until entire regions of space lost the ability to communicate with each other. Without coordination, the vast alien empire would fragment into isolated systems that could be defeated one at a time. Cryptographer Kang Do-hyun had spent years analyzing alien communication protocols and had discovered that most species used mathematical encryption methods that could be broken by human computers given enough time and processing power. The aliens had never encountered a species with human-level mathematical abilities combined with advanced computational technology. Their secret communications could be intercepted and decoded to provide Earth with detailed intelligence about alien military movements and strategic plans. Intelligence analyst Lim Hee-won had compiled detailed profiles of every alien species that belonged to the Galactic Council, including their homeworld locations and industrial capabilities and military strengths and weaknesses. The analysis showed that the Council was not a unified military force but rather a collection of different species with varying levels of commitment to collective defense. If humanity could defeat or neutralize the primary military powers, then the remaining species might choose to negotiate rather than continue fighting. The Chronari were the Council's main military force, but they relied on traditional tactics that had not changed significantly in thousands of years. Human forces using unconventional warfare methods could exploit their predictable behavior patterns and turn their own strength against them. The Ethereals provided psychic coordination for alien forces, but their telepathic abilities were useless against humans, and without that advantage they became vulnerable to surprise attacks and rapid tactical changes. The Voidborn were ancient and wise, but they had not participated in active warfare for millions of years, and their military technology was outdated compared to younger species. The Cerebros were analytical and logical, but they required time to process information and make decisions, which made them unsuitable for fast-paced combat situations. Each alien species had advantages that made them dangerous, but also weaknesses that could be exploited by human forces willing to take risks and adapt quickly to changing conditions. Admiral Shin revealed the true extent of Earth's hidden military preparations, including a fleet of stealth ships that had been stationed throughout the solar system waiting for orders to begin offensive operations. The ships used revolutionary engines that combined fusion and antimatter technology to achieve performance levels that would surprise alien forces expecting to face primitive human spacecraft. Advanced manufacturing facilities on the Moon and asteroid colonies could produce weapons and equipment faster than aliens would expect from a single-world civilization. Admiral Shin Bora stood on the bridge of the flagship Indomitable as it powered up its revolutionary fusion antimatter engines for the first time in combat conditions. Around her, the command crew made final preparations for an operation that would either save humanity or at least ensure that their extinction would be remembered throughout the galaxy for thousands of years. The ship's hull was made of materials that could withstand direct hits from alien energy weapons, while its own weapon systems were designed to penetrate any known form of alien defensive technology. Captain Oh Young-min commanded the first wave of attack ships that would target the primary Galactic Council military installations. His fleet consisted of 30 vessels that had been hidden in asteroid belts and behind gas giant moons throughout the solar system. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy entire alien space stations, and their crews had trained for years, using simulated combat scenarios based on intelligence gathered from alien technology and tactical manuals recovered from crashed ships. The first target was the Chronari military stronghold called Terminus Gate, which served as the primary coordination center for alien military operations in this region of the galaxy. The base was protected by defensive systems that the aliens considered impenetrable, but human analysis had identified several critical vulnerabilities that could be exploited by coordinated attacks using unconventional weapons and tactics. Commander Ryu Soo-jin led the stealth division using ships equipped with experimental cloaking technology that made them invisible to alien sensors. Her mission was to infiltrate key alien installations and plant quantum destabilizers that would destroy critical infrastructure from within. The cloaking systems used principles of quantum mechanics that alien scientists had never fully understood, despite their advanced technology in other areas. The attack began at precisely 0600 Earth Standard Time, with simultaneous strikes against alien targets across 17 different star systems. Human ships appeared without warning in locations where the aliens had believed themselves to be completely safe from any possible threat. The element of surprise was total because the Galactic Council had never imagined that primitive humans could develop interstellar travel capabilities without their knowledge and assistance. The first alien casualties occurred at a communication relay station orbiting the planet Vexen Prime, where the local defense force was caught completely unprepared for combat operations. The human attack ships used kinetic weapons that fired dense metal projectiles at significant fractions of light speed. The projectiles penetrated alien energy shields as if they did not exist, and destroyed the station's main reactor within the first 30 seconds of combat. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy as human forces demonstrated their ability to strike at targets that the aliens had considered unreachable. The key to human success was their willingness to use weapons and tactics that the aliens had dismissed as too primitive or too dangerous to be practical. Nuclear warheads delivered by stealth ships could destroy alien installations that were designed to withstand energy beam attacks but had no protection against old-fashioned atomic explosions. Dr. Yoon Minna monitored the deployment of her viral nanobots from the command center on Earth as the microscopic machines spread through alien computer networks at the speed of light. The nanobots had been designed to mimic alien communication protocols while gradually corrupting the data they transmitted. Within hours of deployment, the viruses had infected thousands of alien systems and begun the process of turning their own technology against them. The Galactic Council's first response was to attempt communication with Earth, demanding an explanation for the unprovoked attacks on peaceful installations. The response came in the form of additional human strikes against alien military targets, accompanied by the transmission of recordings from the murdered diplomatic mission. The message was clear that humanity knew about the planned genocide and was responding with preemptive military action to ensure their own survival. Veltar convened an emergency session of the Galactic Council to coordinate a response to what they now realized was a serious military threat from a species they had completely underestimated. The human attacks had already destroyed critical infrastructure and eliminated key military units that would take years to replace. More disturbing was the evidence that humans possessed technology and capabilities that Council intelligence services had failed to detect during decades of observation. General Krex of the Chronari attempted to organize a coordinated military response but discovered that human virus attacks had already compromised the communication systems that linked alien military units across the galaxy. Orders were being corrupted during transmission, and tactical information was being altered in ways that caused confusion and delay among alien forces. The precise coordination that had been the foundation of Council military power was being systematically destroyed by human cyber warfare. The second wave of human attacks targeted alien industrial facilities and resource extraction operations that supported their military capabilities. Captain Oh Young-min led his fleet against the massive mining complex at Kepler Station, where the aliens extracted exotic materials needed for their advanced technology. The facility was protected by automated defense systems that had never been tested against human weapons and tactics. The human approach was to overwhelm alien defenses with attacks from multiple directions using weapons that functioned on different physical principles. While alien energy shields deflected beam weapons, they could not stop physical projectiles or electromagnetic pulse devices or chemical explosives. Human engineers had developed hybrid weapons that combined multiple attack methods in single projectiles that could penetrate any known form of alien defensive technology. The battle for Kepler Station lasted 6 hours and resulted in the complete destruction of the mining complex, along with its defensive fleet of 60 alien warships. Human casualties were minimal because their tactics emphasized speed and surprise over direct confrontation. By the time alien forces could respond effectively, the human ships had already completed their mission and moved to secondary targets in other star systems. Commander Ryu Soo-jin successfully infiltrated the alien communication center at Nexus Prime using her stealth ships to avoid detection by the station's security systems. Her team planted quantum destabilizers throughout the facility, while alien personnel continued their normal activities without realizing that their most important installation was being prepared for destruction. The destabilizers were timed to activate simultaneously and create a cascade failure that would tear the massive station apart from within. The psychological impact of the human attacks was as important as the physical damage they caused. For thousands of years, the species of the Galactic Council had lived in peace under the protection of military forces that seemed invincible. The sudden appearance of human fleets striking at targets throughout the galaxy demonstrated that even the most secure alien installations were vulnerable to attack by enemies who were willing to take risks and use unconventional methods. Elder Morthak of the Voidborn began to understand that the ancient prophecies about a young race that burns bright had been warnings rather than guidance. Humanity was not just another species that could be eliminated through superior technology and overwhelming force. They were something fundamentally different that could adapt and evolve and overcome any obstacle, including entire galactic civilizations that tried to destroy them. The third wave of human attacks focused on alien homeworlds and population centers in an attempt to force the Galactic Council to negotiate rather than continue military operations. However, these strikes were carefully limited to military and industrial targets while avoiding civilian casualties. Humanity wanted to demonstrate their capability to destroy alien civilization without actually committing genocide against species that had simply followed the orders of their leaders. The human fleet that attacked the Kronari homeworld used a combination of orbital bombardment and ground assault forces to capture key military installations without causing massive civilian casualties. The Kronari military had never faced enemies willing to accept heavy losses in order to achieve tactical objectives. Human soldiers fought with a determination and creativity that made them incredibly difficult to defeat, even when facing superior numbers and technology. Dr. Lee Chang-wook supervised the deployment of the artificial intelligence network that coordinated human military operations across interstellar distances. The AI systems could process information and make tactical decisions faster than any biological intelligence while adapting their strategies based on real-time analysis of alien responses. Unlike alien command structures that relied on centralized authority, the AI network was distributed and redundant and could continue functioning even if major components were destroyed. The AI network's greatest advantage was its ability to learn from each engagement and share that knowledge instantly with all human military units. Every successful tactic and every alien weakness discovered in one battle was immediately incorporated into the strategic planning for all subsequent operations. 6 months after the destruction of Nexus Prime, the remnants of the Galactic Council faced a reality that none of their ancient civilizations had ever imagined possible. Humanity had not only survived their attempt at elimination, but had systematically destroyed the military and industrial infrastructure that had maintained alien dominance over the galaxy for thousands of years. The young species that the Council had dismissed as primitive upstarts had proven capable of reshaping the balance of power among the stars through superior tactics and unmatched determination. Beltar sat in the emergency command center that had been hastily constructed on the planet Sanctuary Prime after the destruction of the Council's primary administrative facilities. The blue-green alien leader who had once spoken confidently about maintaining galactic order now found himself desperately trying to coordinate the defense of worlds that had never faced serious military threats. Human forces continued their systematic campaign against alien infrastructure, while offering no indication of when or if they might be willing to negotiate an end to hostilities. The psychological impact of the human offensive had been as devastating as the physical destruction of alien military assets. Species that had lived in peace for millennia were now forced to consider the possibility that their entire civilization might be eliminated by enemies who seemed capable of striking anywhere at any time. The careful stability that the Galactic Council had maintained through diplomatic manipulation and overwhelming technological superiority had been shattered by humans who refused to follow the established rules of galactic politics. General Han Jae-sung reviewed intelligence reports from across the galaxy as human forces continued their methodical campaign against remaining alien strongholds. The report showed that several alien species were beginning to question whether continued resistance against humanity was worth the cost of seeing their homeworlds devastated by an enemy that seemed to grow stronger with each engagement. The unity that had allowed the Galactic Council to function as a single political entity was fragmenting under the pressure of military defeats and economic disruption. The Cerebros had withdrawn from active participation in Council military operations after human virus attacks had corrupted their analytical computer systems and made it impossible for them to process the complex calculations needed for strategic planning. The logical aliens had concluded that fighting against an opponent who could turn their own technology against them was an unwinnable proposition that would only result in greater losses. The ethereals found themselves in an even worse position because their telepathic abilities that had been the foundation of their political influence were completely useless against human minds. Without the ability to read thoughts and emotions, the ethereals could not predict human behavior or coordinate effective responses to human tactics. They had become just another species with advanced technology, but no special advantages that made them indispensable to the Council's survival. Dr. Yoon Mina monitored the continuing spread of her viral nanobots through alien computer networks, as the microscopic machines established complete control over communication and data processing systems throughout the galaxy. The nanobots had evolved beyond their original programming and were now capable of learning and adapting to alien countermeasures faster than alien technicians could develop new defensive protocols. In effect, humanity had gained the ability to control alien technology remotely, while denying the aliens the ability to coordinate their own military responses. The fourth wave of human attacks targeted the remaining centers of alien political authority in an effort to completely eliminate the Galactic Council's ability to function as a governing body. Admiral Shinbora personally led the assault on the Kronari Military Academy, where alien officers had been trained for over 2,000 years. The destruction of this symbolic institution sent a clear message that humanity intended to dismantle every aspect of the system that had planned their elimination. Captain Oh Young-min coordinated simultaneous strikes against alien research facilities and universities, where the scientific knowledge that supported galactic civilization was developed and preserved. The attacks were surgical in nature and focused on destroying information and equipment rather than causing casualties among alien researchers. However, the message was unmistakable that humanity could eliminate the intellectual foundation of alien society if they chose to do so. The most psychologically devastating human action was the systematic destruction of alien historical monuments and cultural sites that represented thousands of years of galactic civilization. Commander Ryu Soo-jin used her stealth ships to plant explosives at locations that held deep symbolic meaning for various alien species. The destruction of these irreplaceable cultural treasures demonstrated that humanity possessed both the capability and the will to erase alien civilization from existence if necessary. Elder Morthak of the Voidborn made the first official attempt to open negotiations with Earth when it became clear that continued military resistance would only result in the complete destruction of everything the Galactic Council had built over millennia. The ancient alien transmitted a formal request for diplomatic discussions along with an acknowledgement that the Council had made serious errors in judgment regarding humanity's nature and intentions. The human response came directly from President Hoon in a message that was broadcast to every inhabited world in the galaxy. The president's words were carefully chosen to make clear that Earth held the aliens responsible for their attempt to commit genocide against a peaceful species that had approached them seeking friendship and cooperation. Humanity had been willing to accept junior status in the galactic community and to learn from older civilizations, but the aliens had chosen to respond with treachery and murder. President Seo explained that humanity's military actions were defensive in nature and designed to ensure the survival of the human species against enemies who had demonstrated their willingness to eliminate entire civilizations when it served their political interests. Earth was not seeking to conquer or rule over alien species, but rather to establish a new galactic order based on merit and mutual respect, rather than ancient hierarchies maintained through fear and manipulation. The president's message also contained a detailed accounting of alien crimes against humanity, including the murder of the diplomatic mission and the planned elimination of Earth's population through weapons designed to simulate natural disasters. These revelations shocked many alien populations who had been told that their leaders were maintaining peace and stability through wise and benevolent governance. The broadcast included recordings of the secret council meeting where the decision to eliminate humanity had been made, along with translations of alien communications that proved the genocide was planned and deliberate rather than the result of misunderstanding or accident. The evidence made it impossible for alien leaders to claim that they had acted in good faith or that their actions were justified by legitimate security concerns. Dr. Lee Chang-wook expanded the artificial intelligence network to include analysis of alien political and social structures in preparation for the establishment of new galactic governance systems. The AI systems had proven their effectiveness in military coordination and were now being adapted to manage the complex task of reorganizing galactic civilization according to principles that would prevent future attempts at genocide against developing species. The AI analysis revealed that the Galactic Council's greatest weakness had been its reliance on static thinking and resistance to change that made it incapable of adapting to new situations or accommodating species with different approaches to civilization. The system had worked for thousands of years because it had eliminated any species that might challenge its basic assumptions about how galactic society should function. Humanity represented something fundamentally different because their natural tendency toward innovation and adaptation made them capable of finding solutions to problems that had been considered unsolvable by alien civilizations. This capability had been seen as a threat by the Council, but could actually be the foundation for a more dynamic and resilient form of galactic governance that would benefit all species. The final battle of the war occurred when the desperate remnants of alien military forces attempted a coordinated strike against the human colonies that had been established throughout the solar system during the conflict. The aliens hoped that destroying human civilian populations would force Earth to accept a negotiated settlement that would preserve some form of alien political authority in the galaxy. The attack was a complete failure because human defensive systems had been continuously upgraded throughout the conflict using lessons learned from each engagement with alien forces. The AI network coordinated the defense with precision that made it impossible for alien weapons to reach their intended targets, while human counterattacks systematically destroyed the last organized alien military units in this region of space. The destruction of their final military reserves left the alien species with no choice but to accept whatever terms humanity might offer for ending the conflict.